Welcome to the podcast where we speak truth, illuminate power, and fully embody who the fuck we are. This is the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. We are all about spiritual evolution, spiritual growth, talking about the things that may be controversial, even some triggering concepts, but we are all about expansion. Come on in and join us as we reclaim and recenter ourselves in the power of who we really are. We are the Light Warriors, and welcome to the revolution.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to episode 124 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Okay, and let's chat into this. Kim and I had this beautiful, amazing conversation. However, I'll give you a disclaimer in connection with this because we dive into parasites, we dive into worms, we dive into dynamics of the physical form and how it's blocking our spiritual pathways, but also too what it's doing for the body. And Kim has a super powerful story about how the company that she now runs and like literally was the creation behind the company got started. And it's a very, very powerful episode. But some of you might get weirded out a bit, which is exactly what should happen in connection with this conversation, because all of us are moving through some of this dynamic. All of us are maneuvering through this aspect of our body in physical form. So when you feel into this, if you're like, fuck, I think I need to get one of these parasite cleanses and do one of these cleanses, you will see a link in the show notes. You also have a discount code that you can use because you're listening to this podcast. It's called Light Warrior. All caps is the discount code. It will also be in the show notes. You can get 10% off when you use that code. And that is an affiliate link. So it's linked directly to this podcast episode. So you know, and they know that it came directly from this recording. But it's like, wow, what a powerful conversation. And let me tell you a little bit about Kim so you get the preface as to what you're walking into. But Kim Rogers is a wellness professional with over 18 years of experience in Western medicine, dedicated to advancing medical knowledge and improving patient care. She comes from the medical field, right? So her career includes authoring medical publications, contributing to national certification tests, and serving on medical advisory boards. So imagine, right? This is what came created through her. After facing her own health challenges with endometriosis, Lyme disease, and mold poisoning, Kim sought holistic solutions and eventually founding RogersHood Apothecary in 2021. She created the viral Parasite Cleanse Kit, which gained widespread attention on TikTok and Instagram, earning her a title of Worm Queen. And now she empowers others to advocate for their own health through her products and personal healing journey. And it was just like a powerful, powerful experience. And I can't say any more in connection with this because you guys are going to go in and listen to this episode, but it is on point and amazing. And if you landed here, exactly, I'm sure what you need today. So no further ado, Kim Rogers, episode 124, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. So this is going to be fun. We're going to talk about worms today with the Worm Queen and all the things tied into parasites, energy in the body, cleansing the body, and all these types of things and energetics. And, you know, Kim, I'm just so excited to have you here today and for us to dive into this conversation for everybody.
Funny. Isn't it funny? Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for having me. It is quite a funny topic. We try and make it humorous and not so serious because you can't take it too seriously, but it's a serious topic, you know?
It technically is a serious topic because if people have parasites in their bodies, they're most likely in pain, not connected, you know, brain fog, all of this like stuff that's happening in their physical form. But the way you show up on social media and how you show us parasites in the body, it's actually kind of freaky a little bit. Sometimes I like have like nightmares watching your reels, you know, like, I know. I say that with so much love and respect, you know. But
I think people are afraid to follow me because of it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm just gonna show up my feet. You can mute me, please don't, but you can.
You can, yeah. But it's like
Still follow, but you can mute. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta take a break, especially if you're like eating salmon and one of my salmon videos pops up. I got like some chicken videos coming up. Like,
Oh
I
man.
mean, there's some. I will ruin food for you, for me, for everyone.
Yeah.
So don't think you're alone because let me tell you, salmon was my favorite. Like, I love salmon. I would eat salmon 3 to 4 times a week. I ate sushi multiple times a week. We lived in Nevada and all you can eat sushi is a thing there. Oh my gosh, I can't have it anymore. Like, Sometimes I'll get the vegetarian ones, but even then I'm like, this touched the other sushi. Everything's microscopic. Ah,
I just want to go like this, plug my ears as I ate sushi last
totally.
week. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh. But
These
if
videos are more for me than for everyone else.
seriously, there's a reminder, like don't eat that. But this is
I
a thing, like
have
if
no
people,
weakness.
yeah, people like there's oh man, there was one time that someone was like, hey, you should look at this bacon video about what happened. No, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm okay. I don't no, I'm really good. I do not need to know what happens to bacon if you leave it on the counter for a day.
Well,
Like,
worms, like
yeah.
eat the tapeworm for sure.
Yeah, I'm just like, this isn't okay. So we're obviously talking about parasites, and they're in a lot of things that we are susceptible to.
Yeah.
So how does a person, other than stop eating and drinking water, deal with this stuff? Because they're everywhere, right? Like they're everywhere.
They are. They're everywhere. You just have to cleanse, man. You just have to purify, cleanse.
Yeah.
We have a great system that's 3 tinctures and a binder. We include instructions. So my company is RogersHood. I've been doing this for almost 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really wanted to simplify it. I come from Western medicine. So I've been in Western medicine since 2004. So I do have medical behind my back. I'm not just like some willy-nilly chick that's on the internet being like, you should cleanse. I created a kit. No, man. Like, I have 2 healthcare degrees. I was a professor. I've authored books. Like, I've been in the thick of it. And then I also personally was really, really sick. And
Yeah.
so I almost died, and we knew things were not going well for me. My husband and me, we uprooted our life in Tacoma, Washington, and we moved out to our recreational property to build a log home so that when I died, he at least had, mortgage paid off. Like, we had all the things in line for him. And I just wasn't gonna give up. And spiritually, mentally, physically, it was a fight. So I find now what I'm doing so much better than trying to fight for my health and my life, but it's still like it's a thing that really Western medicine has indoctrinated people to not think is a thing.
Yeah.
Other countries cleanse. Like, I don't understand. And coming from that black and white standpoint of Western medicine,
Yeah.
when I do see people reacting and saying what they're saying, I'm like, I don't get how you don't know. But then I'm like, oh, it's because I've had decades
Yeah.
of going, oh, well, this is just, this is another ailment.
Yeah.
So I try and take that into my videos, like,
Yeah.
and understanding that you're not going to know, and this is shocking you because
Yeah.
we are in a medical awakening. I
Oh, we
mean,
are. Yeah.
people are realizing like you have been told wrong about your body.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is just another avenue of that to allow people to have a better understanding that these things literally are feeding off of you nutrient wise, spiritually, mentally,
Yeah.
the brain fog, the amount of health issues that I had before I cleansed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I figured it out, but like there wasn't help from anyone but like my mushrooms and in the
Yeah.
woods.
Let's talk about that because I like so you're in this like you're thinking you're dying, like literally,
Yep,
like your body's collapsing on you. You've got all these things going on. You guys buy this property because you're like, it would be amazing for him to have all this, and I'm gonna pass soon because that's just the thing. So what
right.
happens next? Because you're obviously here. So like something
Yeah.
happened.
Well, I did a lot of mushrooms in the
Yeah.
woods.
Yeah. That's
Daily.
amazing. Yeah. Like, so you take some mushrooms, go into like what we call like in the spiritual ceremony, technically,
Yeah.
because you're in ceremonial energy with the mushrooms and you're asking them, like,
What's
I
wrong
need,
with me?
yeah, what's wrong with me? I need help. And
I'm asking everything around me. I
yeah,
talked to a deer one day.
yeah,
Like, the deer's like, you're fine, dude. You just need to like cleanse. I can't tell you how many times I heard the word cleanse.
yeah,
It was so weird because again, Western medicine, black
yeah,
and white, like I've always been a little more on the herby side. Like, I've always smoked and the weeds, and like I always did the herbs. I did mushrooms, but not in this same fashion where I was like really trying to dig in and figure out what was going on with me while my husband was like growing the mushrooms for me.
Yeah.
We put our log home build on pause. It took him months to learn how to grow mushrooms and grow psilocybin.
Mm.
We pay homage to the red,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is Amanita, because I found how to break down the DNA structure of Amanita and make muscimol and ibotenic acid, which is the same
Mm.
DNA structure of benzodiazepine, which is what I was on. And
Mm.
so I really was like, I got to figure out what's going on with me and I need assistance. I can't just do this on my own. And I had been medically neglected. So at this point, I'm like, what else do I got to lose?
Yeah,
Like,
let's go have a good time in the forest with my
for
mother.
sure, I'm going to sit in front of like, we had this one little section and it was a portal. And I'm just going to like gain all of the knowledge I can from Earth.
Yeah.
And I got nothing else going on.
Yeah.
So,
So let's go dive in. What a beautiful though like experience, but that's not the word, like almost like part of the journey where you made it okay that you're
yeah,
like, I have nothing else going on. I'm in the forest at this beautiful place that we bought. I'm potentially about to die. Let's go have some fun, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And
I need
so
to find out what's going on with me.
yeah, so you dropped into ceremony with mushrooms maybe multiple times and
Mhm.
you just kept hearing cleanse. Is that it? Like that.
Every
So
day.
it's that simple. Yeah, you know, like yeah.
I mean, like we would like drop them and then we would go hike. Because so to give you a reference of where my log home is it's outside of the Hoh rainforest.
Okay, wow.
And there's a beautiful rainforest in the state of Washington, and we had a piece of property on the outskirts of it. So big trees full of moss,
Mm.
very, gloomy. I live in Seattle now. I still own my home. It's very gloomy and, just
Yeah.
moody. And I love that. And
Yeah.
so, and really, we didn't really have much left to lose. We were
Mm.
already at the bottom. And like
Yeah.
my husband was like, well, at least we fought. We fought until the end and figured out what was going on with me. But it was
Yeah.
great. It was such a fun
I
time.
bet
Like
it.
at the same time,
Yeah, yeah. Well, like just like let's go have some magic and be in the magic
Yeah.
of it. So the message kept coming through. Then what transpired next? Because obviously you're like, maybe I should listen, you know?
Yeah. That was like 2020. Okay, so
Right.
2020 is when I decided to get off of all of my big pharma medications, and I had been on Klonopin 4 milligrams for 22 years, which is a really like the highest dose you can be on. And it was to calm my nervous system because I had stage 4 endometriosis and I had had 13 surgeries. And my last surgery, my 13th one, had failed.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to the bathroom, which was a big reason why I chose mushrooms because mushrooms like can make you go poop. So I'm like, all right, well,
That's
I'll have some great experiences and I will go to the bathroom at the same time. So let's go.
yeah.
So I really just needed to figure out what was going on with me, and I couldn't do that on a medication that was so
Mm.
heavy on my nervous system and
Yeah.
weighting me down. And I started to have other symptoms, Parkinson's-like symptoms, which I found out is actually a side effect of Klonopin after an extended period of time of being on it. Here I am, like 40 something years old, and I'm like, wait a minute. So now I'm being diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I'm like, no, 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 no.
Mm.
Before I go for a heavy diagnosis like that, which by the way, my specialty is neurology. So I know what this looks like. I
Mm.
know what medications I'm about to be put on. I know what tests I'm going to have to go through.
Yeah.
So I was a licensed medical specialist, and so neurology and endocrinology were my specialty. So I know what was about to come forward. And so I
Right.
was before I do that, I want to at least figure out once I get off the medication, what else could be causing all of this? And I'm talking like I'll send you the picture. I'm somewhere on my phone. I was very heavy, very swollen, very like in my
Bloated.
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very, very sick. And so I started to do the mushrooms and I sat one day and I was like, well, what if I take like these functionally? Like, what if I take psilocybin functionally and then I'm gonna bring in turkey tail, lion's mane, reishi. I'm actually gonna treat all of these things like I've got the
Yeah.
cancer. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they've already cut on me. That's not working. So maybe I'm going to break these tumors down in a different way. And so then I
Mm.
started to dig into the herbs and mushrooms and really figure out that they all have their own frequency.
Yeah.
Ailment has a frequency, and when you bring in an herb that's the same as the ailment,
Yeah.
it's like when an opera singer sings and she breaks the glass, it's because she got her voice the same frequency as that glass
Yeah.
and it shatters. So why not do the same thing with herbs?
Mm.
I did the same thing when I was in the field for patients and I was able to find the right medication for them. Why not do the same thing with herbs? And now I know what all of that is, but
Yeah.
you know, I come from Western medicine, so that's just not something that
Yeah.
you
You
think
never,
about.
yeah.
Band-aiding everything. You're not trying to get to the root cause.
Right.
So in 2020, I started to just kind of go, okay, this is it. And then in around March and April of 21, I was really like, my food intake was different. I was on a really good regimen of mushrooms and turmeric, and we were doing everything ourselves. We were not buying anything. So I still just was not at my optimal level. I was like, what is really still going on with me? I barely lost any weight. My brain fog was still pretty heavy. So I started looking into, it was in May, I started looking into other things. And I thought years before I had had worms.
Yeah.
And my doctors all gaslit me and said, there's no way you live in a first world country. There's no such thing as you having worms. And so, of course, the way social media can read your mind.
Of course.
I opened up my TikTok account, which I had a TikTok account teaching people how to grow mushrooms and build a log home because that's what I was doing. And
Yeah.
I like 10,000 following on it. So it was big for someone that just really was kind of doing it for fun. And I opened up my TikTok and all of a sudden this chick talks about how she almost unalived herself over parasites and she holds up this cleanse. And I'm like,
There it is.
shit's speaking to me now.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I have to lose, right? Like that's my motto. Like, okay, I did not die during winter and it's spring and I'm still here. So like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I have some worms come out of my body and then I really do know that something more is going on than what I could continue to hear people talk about in my mind or like the downloads I was getting about cleansing and I'm like, maybe
Mhm.
this is that cleanse. Maybe that's what was going on.
Yeah.
3 days, I saw flukes, roundworm, pinworms. I mean, the pain that I had had that made me really push to do this because I thought it was my endometriosis pain again. And I'm like, how I can't have any more surgeries
Yeah.
was gone.
It's
And
crazy.
I have been running every day since then. Like literally July 18th of 2021, I had 1 million people view a 60-second video of mine in 2 hours. And it shut my phone down. It shut my TikTok off. Like they couldn't handle how many people were commenting and liking it and asking
Yeah.
questions. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Here it
okay.
is.
Oh, okay. All right. So now
Mm.
this is cleanse. This is why I was being told cleanse.
Yeah.
Like I was always thinking like cabbage cleanse because I'm like 46 years old and my mom would always do like cabbage cleanse soup. That's what we really do. We're like, let's drop 10 pounds. And like, really, you're just dropping water weight. You're like, so I'm thinking I'm like, Jeremy, we should get some cabbage to do a cabbage cleanse. Oh no, like the universe was
Yeah.
downloading that I need to be the worm queen
Yeah.
and about parasites and how our country doesn't cleanse where other countries cleanse. And not a lot of people know that other countries take a synthetic medication a couple of times a year because they know this is really a thing.
This is
And
a, yeah.
it's a thing, man.
Yeah.
So it kind of led us to even go down more of a wormhole. Our water was contaminated.
Wow. Yeah.
Our water has worms in it, and 75% of the United States water has worms in it. I mean, I'm friends with the lab people, so
They know you.
I mean, at this point, like everybody knows me for water too. It's wild where I'm at with
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, that's everything that happened.
Okay, so we know, okay, I'm going to move into the cleanse part in a second, but like, how do
Yeah,
people get worms out of their water?
out of their water.
Yeah.
Filters,
Yeah.
lots of filters. So a nematode, which is a physical worm, which our country does not test for nematodes, they test for parasites. They're two different things.
Mm,
Parasites are like Giardia, D. fragilis, and crypto. I had Cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which kills puppies.
yes. My puppies
That's
have parvo. Yeah.
Oh, and you can transfer parvo. So if it,
Yeah.
and the thing is that parvo can stay in your body and live until you decide to get super stressed or you have another illness, and then it joins the party.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. People don't realize that everything an animal has, you have as well when you're in contact with it. And I know that's a big reason why I got so sick too, was my dogs had worms and I would deworm my dogs. But
Yeah.
I never thought, oh, I should use the same dewormer and deworm myself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, this is definitely a big thing in connection because so I have both of them. They were 6.5 weeks old. One of them I didn't even think was going to make it through the night one of the times, but they're okay. They're cool. We made it through and all the stuff inside of that. But I also have a cat, and I'm very aware of worms and animals, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with Costa Rica and all the strays that are here. Like my dogs don't go off leash anywhere other than in the yard, and neither does the cat. But still, there's so
Oh,
many
it's in the
animals.
dirt. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's in the dirt. Like it
yeah,
doesn't matter if they go outside of your yard, like it's in your yard. Like
yeah,
it's just a normal thing. And
yeah,
their paws and they're licking them and they're coming on you. And and you're in an area where they probably you could go to the grocery store or a pharmacy and they're gonna let you get a synthetic one. I mean, it's not
yeah,
a bad idea to do those a couple of times a year. I do them still a couple of times a year. I don't have animals and I'm not out roaming around like that, but it's not a bad idea to do synthetics a couple times a year. To do herbs like with the
yeah,
Parafite kit,
yeah,
because all you're doing is giving your body a fighting chance. We literally are exposed to these every day,
yeah,
and there's no way around it. They're in our food, they're in our fish. I mean, Robert Kennedy Jr., who is like going to be the new health guy
yeah,
for the new admission administration coming in, he had a tapeworm. He has neurocysticercosis, which is a tapeworm of the brain. And it's normal if you eat undercooked pork.
yeah,
Like they're animals. You're eating animals. And even if you don't eat animals, all these people pop in my comments and they're like, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian. Oh, it doesn't matter. In fact, I think you probably have more worms because
yeah,
you're probably not soaking your produce and they
yes.
in our produce and you're eating raw produce out. It is the number one way when you're out in another country to get parasites.
Mm,
Or if they rinse the produce with
yeah,
the water
yeah,
that's contaminated, which is what I was doing as well. I
yeah,
wasn't drinking our contaminated water.
yeah,
I brushed my teeth with it. I rinsed our produce with it. We have filter, and we've had a filter out on that property for a while, or I think we would have been a lot sicker, me and my husband.
wow.
So
It's
there's so many ways to get it.
so many
Walk
ways.
barefoot. Like
Yeah,
everybody comes at me because they're like, "Oh, you're a grounding hater." No, man, just take a little area, clean it with diatomaceous earth, make
yeah,
sure no dogs go to the bathroom there, but also know that like dirt has worms. Like
yeah,
it's this is life. Like this is what it looks like to be a human on this planet, you
yeah.
know.
I have a funny story. So, Darko, which is probably is it one of the ingredients in your cleanse kits?
No,
Is
I
that
don't use that one, but I
okay?
know a lot.
Yeah, so we have trees here, Darko trees, and so we have readily accessible tinctures or bark. And one day, intuition was like, "You should take some Darko," and I'm out of my tincture, so I put the bark in a pot, cooked it up as a tea, and didn't think to maybe consider reading the instructions about dilution, like how much you need. So I just had 1 cup of tea the whole entire night. I was literally like with a can on my lap and on the toilet at the same time because my body was purging whatever needed to come out. But I was actually scared to look into the toilet to see
Oh,
what was coming through me because I can only imagine what
yeah.
that was because like potent. Now, I don't highly recommend people do my experiences, but like your cleanse kit has been set up in a way. Like, what do you suggest people do? Is like every quarter would be ideal that people
Every
would,
3 months.
yeah.
Season.
So, yeah,
But that's why we did it because of that. That
yeah,
experience is why I decided to just make a kit. And we teach you, like we have everything I do and I have is free
yeah,
except for my kit. And that's so I could pay people to help me. And, it's because there's so much you need to know. You need to have a binder.
Yeah.
You need to know that the heavy metals are weighting down parasites. Physical parasites are being weighted down by heavy metals. So
Mm.
you need to release those heavy metals in order to release them. And then they lay eggs on the way out because they want their generations to continue.
Yeah.
So then you need another herb to come in and remove the eggs.
Yeah.
Like there's so many elements that you have to do, that you have to think about, and we just make it simple for you. I come from Western medicine. Like I've been doing this for over 20 years now. So I understand how everyone thinks. Okay, I've got a pill. I need to take it. It's got instructions. Okay, that's easy. I
Yeah.
give you instructions. It's like, and it's 30 days. I didn't do more than 30 days specifically because I didn't want people to waste the herbs, and I didn't want you to waste your money. Usually within 30 days, you're feeling better. And if you don't, then why would you want to have 90 days worth of product?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, your example is really profound because it's everybody does that. And then,
Yeah.
and then you find someone and they just don't have the time to sit with you and tell you exactly how to do this. So that's the other thing, is that I'm not there to sit with you, but I've got pages, hundreds of pages of fast track guide to tell you how to do it, how to open your drainage, how to cookbook it. Like I just,
Yeah.
I can't hold your hand, but that's like the closest I can do to hold your hand. And instead of going willy-nilly on it, you can get sick. You can
Yeah.
get really sick. I
Oh,
got really sick my first cleanse. I was so sick. I didn't know you had to bind, and we include a binder in our kit. I
yeah.
didn't know that was a thing. We don't bind in Western medicine. Like even when you do a synthetic, you should still bind
Yeah.
because you're releasing that toxin, and then they pee and they poop and they lay eggs, and like you're trying to clean it all up, and that binder helps clean that up. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like where there's a miss when it
Yeah.
comes to this. But
Yeah. 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 So I like it took me a
you're
day
like,
to recalibrate back in. And
a
I
day.
grew up in a holistic household pretty much. Like my mom went RN, got fibromyalgia. The medical system couldn't help her. This was in the 90s. And then she started looking at holistic medicine. So parasite cleansing has come up in my world probably late teens, early 20s. And
Okay.
she used to have a kit that she used to use from Nature Sunshine, which was just pills. And then you'd have to do another cleanse kit in between that because that's when the eggs were like not hatched yet. And then you had to do the parasite cleanse again. This was back then in the early 2000s where they didn't have all the research, I think, as what you know now, and the potency of tinctures and the work
Yeah.
that you can do inside of this.
Pink.
Yeah, but that's 20. So I'm 44 this year. So
Yeah.
that's 20 years, 24, 25 years ago. Like that's a long time.
Yeah.
Now, would I tell you I've cleansed all the way through there? No. Like geez, sometimes I do water cleanses, sometimes I do all these things, sometimes I just do a heavy metal cleanse but I'm really intrigued with the next phase because sometimes I can feel it's almost like I can feel
Yes.
worms in my mind, and parasites in my brain where I'm like, I can feel you right now. And
Yep.
I'm like, you fucker. Like that's what I want to
You can feel their fucking frequency. It's the
say.
weirdest ever. People just relate it to like you can feel their movement. No, man. They hold your trauma.
Yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
want
Talk
you to
about
stay
this.
at a low
Mhm.
frequency. That's where they live. They want you to stay there. They don't want you to be like moving and opening your drainage pathways because then they're going to die. And they're smarter than us. They're stealthy, they're opportunists.
Yeah.
Um, Physically to talk about so then when I talk about it mentally, people have a better understanding. When you have something like a tapeworm, it literally, well, let's talk about the hookworm actually, it's better. They literally can get so skinny that they look like a vein
Oh my gosh.
because they're absorbing your iron,
Oh,
and they will not, they're undetected.
wow.
So if they're able to do that with their physical body, what do you think they're able to do with them controlling you with a frequency?
Right.
Parasites, mind control, and mold brainwashes. So when you have both, you actually are not in your right mind.
Right.
So you have to remember that they're telling you, they're telling you to eat that food. They're telling you to act that way.
Yeah.
I know you have cats, but I like to give the toxoplasmosis story. Do you know about
No, but
toxoplasmosis?
you can go ahead. Like yeah, I'm totally
Okay.
cool. Yeah. Don't worry about me.
So Toxoplasmosis is found in mice and rats, and those mice and rats are brainwashed to a point where they go and they get eaten by the cat.
Yeah.
Toxoplasmosis is forcing them to go to the cat because the next stage of toxo is in an enzyme in the cat's gut.
Yeah.
So they don't want to be eaten, but
Yeah.
they're being told, go to the cat. I want to go to the next level. It
Mm.
brainwashed the mouse
Mm.
to go to the cat. So they've done studies that have shown people that are promiscuous or have no fear.
Yeah.
Toxoplasmosis removes the fear in your brain,
Mm.
controlling you. So it's real easy when you think, oh, this thing has gotten in my brain. So are you eating that food because you want that food? No. They're
No.
telling you to eat that food. Candida wants you to eat that food.
Right.
Ratworm wants you to eat that food because that's how they survive. They thrive off of sugar. They thrive off of carbs and alcohol. So
Yeah.
when you start to remove those out of your body, spiritually, you start to get like a lightness.
Hmm. I love all of this conversation. Do you think that this is in geckos? Because that's what she's moved on to. She doesn't eat mice anymore. She eats geckos.
Maybe. I mean, talking like deer and oh, the DMs I get, man. I
Seriously,
got
are you?
Yeah,
I
like
can
it's
imagine.
possible. I'm gonna Google. I want to know. I want to know if like geckos have.
Because she like literally is outside. So it's like starting to be prime time now. It's like 4:30 here, right? So it's starting to get dusk. Like the sun sets always 5:30, 5:45 every day. Like it never changes. And so she's outside now on this patio. I'm on the second floor. And it's like the geckos come out on the walls. And she just sits and watches and waits. And she like her tail just moves and she's just like getting these suckers. Like I don't even know how many she's eaten, but like her bag of food lasts 2 to 3 months, like so like it's
You're like she's getting her fill of
she's
geckos.
getting her fill of geckos. So who knows? But I
She can
but
join the insurance company, because gecko.
yeah, I know.
Got
Yeah,
it.
see? It's fun. It's like we can talk funny about this, but this is actually this is a thing. This is and I don't even know what else to call it because if I call it something else, I'll probably get censored. Like this is
It's
a
a thing.
it's a thing. It really
A
is.
thing. And other
Yeah.
countries know it's a thing.
Yeah.
That's what's so funny because I'm worldwide. I ship worldwide. So
Yeah.
I do get to see what what countries are not even ordering from us.
Right.
And because they're like dumb. That's
Mm.
what they're like. I just know that's what's in there. Dumb.
Yeah.
Turn medicine indoctrinated you guys. Dumb. And it's like, it's so easy to cleanse. It's
Right.
so easy to take your health into your own hands and just to really like focus on, oh, well, maybe the root cause wasn't necessarily parasites,
Yeah.
but it contributed. For me, that's where I'm at. Like,
Right.
parasites are not just my root cause. I was living in mold while I was building my log home with my husband. While all this was
Mm.
going on, I was living in Aspergillus niger
Yeah.
poison, and I was being freaking slowly poisoned by that. So my water was poisoning. It's environmental toxins.
Yeah.
Every autoimmune disease that I've had that I've been labeled with has ended up being an
Mm.
environmental toxin.
Yeah.
So I had Lyme. Well, I have chronic Lyme. I got bit by a tick,
Yeah.
uh, environmental toxin. So I have strep in my brain, which causes me to have autoimmune encephalitis, environmental toxin.
Right.
So it's like how many layers, but you got to start somewhere. So like this is a great place to start. And other countries know
Yeah.
they have their synthetic medications readily available for their people.
Yeah. Here too. Like you could go to the pharmacy and just ask for whatever you want. Like you don't have prescriptions ever.
Yeah.
Like you just walk in and just be like, I want this. And they're like, here you go. Like you just like literally that's how they operate in this country. So it's really, but we have mold everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere because I live in the jungle. Like it is moisture. Like literally my hats have mold on it because that's what transpires. So I really appreciate this awakening call to remind me to get my shit in order and to get a parasite cleanse and to get a cleanse in my space because like I can feel my brain, the frequency of that. Let's talk about that because
Yeah.
it's like you touched on it a bit, but I think there's more in that. It's like these worms are holding like that weight into the body, not even physically weight, like losing weight or fat, but like energetic weight. So people
Yes.
that have this in their energetic field are most likely not tapped into themselves, are like they can't hear their intuition. They're not tapped into the cosmos. Is that correct to say?
Yeah.
Or it's harder for them. Yeah.
It's harder because your body has to do more to try and get there.
Right.
So it's like people are trying, you got to try and get rid of the other things that are alive in your body in order for you to be alive.
Yeah.
And these things are alive. Mold is alive. Like it
Yeah.
grows, it's alive. So you figure, okay, well, that's growing in my body. How do I have a chance? How does my soul, which
Mm.
we all know, like the body is just protecting the soul.
Yeah.
The body is making sure that the soul makes it throughout its lifetime. And that's what the body is trying to protect.
Yeah.
But it's invaders, it's invading you. And
Mm.
so spiritually, how can you tap in and trust yourself and trust your intuition when you're fighting the fight inside of your body? You know, what is it, like a billion cells and they're all communicating at all times? Well,
Yeah.
think about it. When you've got thousands of things disrupting those billions of cells trying to do their job and talk to each other, well, is it talking to you or is it talking to this parasite that has its own agenda?
Right. Yeah. So it's just like I do a lot of like cleansing of energies. So shadow work and all the stuff. And I deal with all the outer stuff coming into people's energetic fields. But this is the body also needs to be released. Yeah.
Always. In
Yeah.
order for you to fully understand spirituality, fully understand your body, fully understand your thoughts, you got to give your body a fighting chance, which is, you know, cleansing things out. We know there's heavy metals in life. We know that we're around mold,
Yeah.
which if you think about the way mold grows on your hat or on your wall, that's what it's doing in your body.
Yeah.
It's
Same.
literally a mirror image. It's showing you
Yeah.
that that's how it colonizes. And then
Yeah.
when you have parasites involved with that, they all live together. They're partying. They're
Yeah.
living rent free in your body.
Bastards.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. So there's this like dimension, let's call it, in the energetic field that people say that these worms are good for us. Can we chat? Can we chat into this a little bit? Because we talked about this before we hit record, but I had never heard this before that people are actually saying that, but obviously we know they've probably been indoctrinated into some kind of mechanism from the health field trying to tell them that it's okay. But like, where's this coming from? What does this mean? Like, why are people saying this?
I feel like, okay, I'm going to give
Yeah.
their thought process just
Okay.
because, I mean,
Yeah.
it's fair for them to be able to utilize their thoughts, which it's a 50-50.
Yeah.
So because they absorb heavy metals and spores and they're like a vacuum, they're vacuuming up all of that yucky in your body and then they're holding on to it. And not everyone that has parasites have such a reaction like I do,
Right.
or I did, or other people. So they're thinking that, oh, well, they're all in one spot, right? All that microbiome yucky is chilling in one spot, and everything has its own place in our world, in our earth, and in our body.
Mm,
And so when you go in and you do a cleanse, you can disrupt that, causing it to go out and go whoosh and cause you to get worse,
right.
but so can a higher level of stress. And then you don't know what's going on with you. So if you just come in and you clean it up right away and you don't allow them to hold on to all of the things that they're saying that, you know, they're vacuums, they're doing their job, they're decomposers. Like, but there's something in your body they're decomposing, causing you to be
Yeah.
overabundance of it, right?
Yeah.
So you can look at it on both sides of it. Do you need them to work with your body? Maybe some people might do well with that. Me personally, I did not do well having parasites and worms in my body. They have given like um, some worms, like a hookworm and whipworm, to people that have MS to see if it like eats it because they found that 100% of MS patients had autopsies done. 100% of the autopsied MS patients had tapeworm.
Mm.
So they feel like if they give them another worm, maybe they absorb that and that causes them to not have the spikes in their body, you know. So they really look at it in that type of medical way.
But wouldn't you just want to get rid of the tapeworm and wouldn't that get rid of some of the MS?
I
Like,
would think so.
yeah, you would in your mind. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, we're not doctors proclaiming anything here, but
right.
we're just having a conversation. Like,
Yeah,
logically, if it's coming from that, you
get
would
rid of it.
want, yeah. And then,
But then I think they're afraid that if that if they do that, then everything that all of that is holding will be
Yeah.
unleashed and make the person worse.
Yeah.
That's where if you are prophylactically
Yeah.
going in and stopping it, or you have the right cleanse,
Yeah.
the cleanse is it. We have like a 40% repeat in customer. I mean, that's impressive when you are on social media and 40% of the people
Yeah.
realize, oh my gosh, we need to keep doing this in life.
Well, and I also think that there's a probably pretty large percentage of that are not committed, but they knew it worked, but
Mm.
they'll buy another time in a year or a year and a half because it comes back into their awareness. They're not as committed as the 40% are to consistently be doing this to make sure that their energy and their bodies are clear.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
really what this is. This isn't necessarily just about removing parasites.
Yeah.
It is about resetting your body, giving yourself a fighting chance. If you want to eat salmon and you want to eat sushi and you want to eat raw meat, and you want to eat produce out, at least give yourself a chance to be able to live your life and not be so chronically ill at home every day, not knowing what's going on. Like for me, like I said, it was my first step of, okay, so I have a parasite. I have crypto, Spiridium parvium. I have roundworm. I have flukes. I have pinworms. All right, got it.
Yeah.
And I got rid of them. And then I'm like, oh, and I'm living in mold. But I would have never known I was living in mold because I was so sick with parasites that when I finally
Right.
got rid of my parasites and I realized I had mold poisoning, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I have mold.
No,
I
here we
get
are.
it now,
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, so I'm just going to test myself for funsies for Lyme.
Hmm.
Came back, I have Lyme. Oh, okay. So all of this contributed. Instead of me having a radical hysterectomy, maybe I should have cleaned all of this up instead of a life
Mm.
altering event.
Right.
And you can't ever come back from that, right? So
Ah.
and then spiritually, I was no contact with my family. I
Mm.
was going through a lot. And so it was like, well, why? Like, what else can I do in order to help my body not have to go through all of this?
Right. It's a powerful tool and it's part of our sovereignty. Like for us to really recognize this, it's like there's certain systems that have been set up to control us and keep us minimal and small. And there's other systems that have been set up for our liberation because with one, there's the other. So if
Yeah.
there's parasites, there's the liberation of the parasites. There's both spectrums that are playing out in the field of it all, right? And it's like, but it's us
Hmm.
choosing the difference, us choosing that food over this food, us choosing to be in this awareness and take the initiative necessary.
This
Yeah.
is you should have sovereignty over your own body.
Yeah.
We learned anything from 2020.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing that you can have over your body is the rights to say what you want and what you don't want
Yeah.
and be your own advocate, your own patient advocate in order to keep sovereignty over your own body. That is like my mission
Yeah.
because I've had that taken away from me when I had all of these diseases come up and not really have a lot of choices and gaslighting and I'm in the field and I still get gaslit. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering how people that are not in the field, where they're at in life, because honestly, I feel for everyone.
Yeah.
Why not give yourself a chance to have a clear mind when you walk into the doctor and you're telling them everything that's going on with you, and they look at you and they're like, take this pill.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. You're okay. Thank you. She's like, give me my cleanse. Where's mine?
Like, I like to eat geckos
Yeah,
outside.
like seriously. Well, there's this bird that keeps like I've seen it the last 2 days, and literally at one point, if you saw my eyes, it flew up onto the roof, and I swear I saw this bird like trying to get a snake out of a hole the other day, and I don't know if he was out there trying to like I don't know if it's a predator bird, but trying to like see her and seeing her outside. She came back in, and I was like, "This is the jungle," there's some stuff that's happening around my house right now. Like, so interesting. Okay, a couple things that just to kind of close this off, which I think this has been amazing. Um, People can obviously order the kit. We'll have links for them in the show notes and stuff like that. What is there anything that they need to know when they go to the website and stuff? Is there anything you want to suggest to them, especially some people that have never done this before?
Well, you definitely want to make sure your pathways are open. That's peeing, pooping, and perspiring. Your three P's for the pathway. And it's really easy to do that. In the fast track guide, I give you how and some suggestions. So, like red light therapy, which is my favorite ever. It was
Mhm.
like changed my life. Castor oil. So, if you're not going poop, you can put castor oil in your abdomen and then use the red light because
Yeah.
it'll castor oil even deeper,
Mm.
breaking up more toxins because that's what red light does is it breaks it up with the castor oil. So you can biohack stack. That's kind of one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do. And eat the best you can. The diet that we do recommend is like no meat, no sugar, no carbs. But, you know, you just do your best. It's
Yeah.
just, you're just trying to get the herbs in your body to the best of your ability. So don't get too stressed. You can't mess up our cleanse unless you just don't take it.
Right.
Once you don't take it, then yeah. But as long as you're doing it 3 times a day, we literally give you instructions. We answer every email, every comment, every DM. Like we are committed to this.
Yeah.
We want you to be successful in your life, whether or not you do our kit once and you feel better and you do something, another kit, like we're not in it for that. We're in it because you really need to have sovereignty over your own body. You
Yeah.
really need to know what's going on with you. And to be honest, they're just not going to ever give you those answers.
Yeah.
You have to be responsible. You are the last person that lays your head down at night with your own thoughts. So why not them be your thoughts, not be thoughts of a parasite, you know?
Nice. Seriously.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you the question about the full moon because
Yeah.
there's this mechanism in the field, let's call it, that people say that parasites light up on the full moon. So tell us about that.
So the full moon and it creates more serotonin in your body and
Mm.
parasites eat serotonin heavily. That's why you're always sad and don't feel worthy because they're literally eating your happy hormone. And so during the full moon there is a lot more serotonin that's starting to go into your body and so it kind of makes you a little crazy. That's why like in the ER they always said, "Oh, during the full moon it's going to be the hardest." And
Yeah.
it's true because people are out of their minds in a lot of ways. The French actually, because they eat a lot of snails, they have schistomiasin, that's their parasite.
Mm.
And they say to start deworming 3 days prior to the full moon because they start to dislodge themselves, which makes so much sense when they're dislodging themselves and you have free flowing of serotonin. They just kind of hitch into that highway and then they're able to maneuver around and make more homes in your body because the
Oh.
serotonin is flowing heavier. And so that's why we say 3 days before the full moon you start, and
Yeah.
then you make sure you're over a full moon to be able to, get as many as you can while you're doing it. Now, if you don't do it during a full moon setup, it's still going to be so successful. I can never really wait over a full moon. If
Yeah.
I'm feeling bad, I just cleanse.
Yeah.
But yes, that is the way that physiologically it works.
Yeah. Well, they also say, so they say to clear your crystals in full moon energy, and it's like 3 days before and 3 days after. So it makes like nature is this beautiful landscape for all of us. Like, and if we start to really pay attention to that and to what we have available for us, because all the herbs inside of the kit, I'm sure, are all coming from nature, and yeah. So it's like it's all there. Like the whole mechanism, when they talk about everything is purposely been positioned, it has. We have the solution and the problem. It's always there.
It is. It's
Yeah.
always, and some of our herbs are foraged. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like we went and did them ourselves.
So cool. I love
Yeah.
that. So amazing. Kim, anything else you want to say to the collective before we close off with our worm conversation?
No, thank you so much for having me. And just know that there is always someone out there that can help you.
Yes.
Don't ever give up and just purify cleanse when you're feeling yucky.
Yes, perfect. Okay. We'll have all of Kim's information in the show notes. And like she said, she answers all the DMs. So if you guys have questions about this and you're like, this sprung on something, go buy the kit. Let's get you
Yeah.
cleared up and linked up in that way. But ask the questions. And if you want to really see a reality check, just go check out her content. She'll show you some reality checks in the space of it all. But yeah, this has been awesome. And I highly suggest to everybody share this with a friend. There's people in your life that may be going through some stuff physically, that this could assist them. And I think it's so imperative that we all work together and that the community keeps serving each other, because the messages aren't just for us that are listening today, they're for all the other people too that we know. So
Yes.
yeah, it's cool. Well, Kim, thanks again for all the time. And like, I so appreciate the candor and the laughter at the same time, as we weaved it in. So good. For all you guys listening, we'll chat with you guys again in the next episode. We'll see you soon.